Hi, I'm Rosie. Welcome to my podcast called Yoga Pose. I'm Yoga Pose. My family used to call me Rosie Pose. And I feel like their nickname made me destined to become a yoga teacher. These episodes are a chance for me to share more of myself and my journey, as well as the benefits of yoga and meditation as I see them. So expect stories, sutras, and jokes, because I think I'm pretty funny and laughing is going to help us loosen up. Yoga isn't a game, but there's no reason we can't play. So being playful stops us striving, and we become explorers simply for the pleasure of it. Hi, I took a 2-week break from this Yoga Pose podcast for 2 reasons. Number one, my friend Leighton, who does a sweet little edit on these podcasts, he and his wife had baby number 2 recently, little Bodhi, and I know he listens, he's a fan, youngest listener. And yeah, they're just settling into their new groove with baby Bodhi, and it's nice to give them a chance to find their groove without doing a little edit on these episodes. So that was one of the reasons we took a little break. Also, me personally, I'm busy. I'm really busy creating and preparing for my first teacher training that I'm assisting on with one of my teachers. We start in April. I think we're full, but if you are interested in becoming a teacher or thinking about being a teacher or thinking about being a teacher, because there's so much contemplation and pre-contemplation that's going on, feel free to send me a little message and I can chat to you about what it's like, whether it's my course or someone else's. It's just a real pleasure to talk to people who are thinking of standing up and becoming a teacher. So let's jump into the main part of this episode, which is called Can I Be Me? And it starts off with me reflecting on having an online presence and how unusual that is for myself. And at times I have lost myself online, not least, spending an hour on YouTube and being like, right, well, that was not the most productive use of my time at all. But before I taught yoga, I had a private Facebook profile. I never posted on it, but I really enjoyed using it as a platform to connect with my friends. Obviously, now I teach, I use Facebook and Instagram to publish articles and pictures of myself. I recently started looking back at old flyers and materials that I produced in my early years, and it's quite a remarkable transformation. I used to hide a lot behind my logo. It's a very cool logo. It's like a little stick figure. It looks like a reverse tabletop position, but the stick figure creates an Om sign. God, it's good. But I used it a lot to hide behind because I didn't want to be center stage and have images of myself online. It's only been through a lot of work. I say only. It's been a lot of work on my blocks and shyness that has meant I've been able to put myself now at the forefront of my work. Now, it won't be long into your yoga studies before you read one of the most popular quotes from the Bhagavad Gita. And that quote is that yoga is a journey of the self, through the self, to the self. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna learns the importance of acting without attachment to the outcome of our decisions. And that's useful when you write a sweet little post, there's a great picture involved, goes online, very minimal interaction. You're checking your insights and you're looking at the stats. Nothing, not that much. This is useful. This is what the Gita was written for. It was written before Instagram, but incredibly, the advice sits really well with those crushing moments where there's not much interaction. Carl Jung, the psychologist, said the purpose of life was to become whole. He said the journey from the fragmented self to wholeness requires us to face our shadow. and that our shadow is everything inside of us that we have avoided, disowned, and kept in the dark. It's energy that's not integrated with the rest of our being. People are fascinated by people because from observing others, we can learn about ourselves. We also observe others, we look for similarities, we look for representation of ourselves in other people. A few months ago, I watched the biopic Can You Ever Forgive Me? And it's about the author Lee Israel. Now, she's not a very successful author. Her writing career isn't going well. She can't get a deal. So she resorts to forging letters from celebrities and writers to cover her rent. And the letters that were most valuable were the really personal ones, because they were the chance to get to know the author, to find out who they were when they weren't doing the thing that they're famous for. So my advice to anyone talking about themselves online is to make sure you give people something of yourself. You know, you are honest and you share parts of yourself. But really crucially, and I think sometimes this is missed, you actually leave something for yourself as well. As a very private person, I decided before my first post what I would keep offline. There are some areas of my life that are not for public knowledge or discussion. I do share difficulties or, worries and lessons I've learned, but I might hold back some of the more intimate detail. And this method, I find, feels really healthy, and I don't lose my sense of self online. I don't do this real verbal vomit where I just type out all of these dark, horrible thoughts that I have and for everyone and anyone to read. I don't need to share all of myself online. I have friends I can talk to and I know who I am. I understand the darkness and the light in my personality. And I'm not limited to the things I post online. It's great content, but I'm honest that the images I publish are always posed. I'm called Yoga Pose, for goodness sake. Like the pictures, I've invariably paid a photographer. I'm prancing around, posing, and it takes a surprising amount of effort and a very sweet photographer to make photos look natural in quite artificial settings. So whilst they look very sweet and simple, a fair amount of work has gone into getting these images. And even though they're posed, it doesn't discredit what I'm offering when I post these, right? They do show a big part of who I am. I am a yogi. And I've always questioned things. When I was a kid, I was the one that always said why in response to a definitive statement that my parents made. And I've always enjoyed being different. So what have I been posting about recently on Instagram? Let me see. So I posted about clothing and representation. I can't bear the cute crop top photos. They really do get a why from me, We all know the yoga scene is full of attractive women. That much is really clear. Is that a good reason for people to practice? And if that's the image being used as bait, then why? As a teacher, why are we doing that? Why are we using our body and our image as bait to start a yoga practice? I've never shown the food I eat online, yet I consume it on the daily. And never show the epic personal and professional highs and the equally epic lows. But if you can assume that I eat every day, you can assume that I experience massive highs and lows as well. I believe that when everything is laid bare, we lose the ability to become aware of the subtle and intuitive. And yes, you can actually develop intuition while following people on Instagram. I feel that having a presence online now is such a privilege, and I treat it as a platform, a place where I can share parts of myself. Now, I watched Can I Be Me?, the documentary on Whitney Houston recently. One of the things she said so often to her team was, "Can I be me?" She had made her first album of incredible and commercially viable music. And when it was leading up to creating content for the second album, she was repeatedly saying, "Can I be me?" She wanted to make the music that she really believed in and represented her gospel roots. In one interview, she said, "You've got to find happiness in yourself. You've got to know who you are before you step into this business. Because if you try to find it, you'll probably end up being someone else that you don't even like." This is true for any business or relationship. To know who you are first. And that way you don't lose a sense of yourself when you're working or hide your true self. I'm lucky because I get to be me, very much me, inside and outside of work. I've been in jobs where I've had to slightly tone down aspects of myself, which felt entirely appropriate. During meetings with donors and fundraisers, it was not appropriate to kick my shoes off and sit cross-legged. But if those people asked me how I spent my weekend, then I would talk openly about attending a retreat or the kind of books that I was reading. But there came a time when certain jobs required a lot of armouring and adaptation, and I became exhausted. I felt fragmented, and the effort that involved was really, really unhealthy. But back to Whitney. In the documentary, this interview was shot decades before her death, and she was asked, "How would you like to be remembered?" Her reply, "I want people to just remember me as a real nice person." And we are all nice people. Some of the roles we occupy, the games we play, or fears and insecurities we have can mask this inherent truth. Well, I've certainly found that to be the case. As I've alluded to, previous careers made me hard, and I had to be tough to handle the pressure. I wasn't always that nice. And if my family did listen to these episodes, they'd be nodding their head right now. They would confirm I was not always that nice. I'm a work in progress, but over the years of exploring love and my blocks to it, I have discovered the word Prema. And it's from the verbal root pre, which means to please, gladden, or delight in. So this week is a Prema practice, a practice of delighting in being you, embracing all aspects, the darkness and the light. Thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. You can visit doyouromthing.co.uk to see my teaching timetable, workshops and retreats. I would love to connect with you in person. This podcast is about building a community, so keep reaching out to me. Do Your Om Thing is my Instagram handle and Facebook page. Before you go, think about your karma, okay? You've enjoyed this episode, hopefully as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. So help a yogini out by sharing and leaving a review. I read every single comment and they inspire me so much. I'm not kidding, please leave a review. Don't make me sell out and get sponsorship and do adverts. Thank you so much for listening to Yoga Pose.